That it wasn't good. It wasn't good at all three levels. So I don't think there was a level that I would say played well. So it was disappointing. Not a disappointing in terms of anything more than in that game in terms of what the players, the performance, the coaching. So we got to be better. So.
You talked a lot post game about reasons. What would you look to as the reasons for?
Well, we didn't play well. They played well. I think early on they had some success. We get in a situation where, we got real young at linebacker real quick, and even more so than we were. And, you think about what a quarterback does for an offense, and you got a Mike linebacker who kind of does that for us. And, we get into a situation where we got a true freshman playing, and the cool thing for me to see with him is, like, the moment wasn't too big for him. He made a lot of mistakes, and that's to be expected. But I thought he handled it awesome. Like, just how he handled the situation, how he handled coaching, how he handled getting on the phones, how he handled halftime, how he handled after the game. It was awesome. You see people get in those types of situations and they lose their composure or they get flustered. The moment wasn't too big for him. Now, obviously, he's got to improve, and I got to help him improve. And I think the kid's going to be an outstanding football player. And that was an interesting moment for him to get put in. You think of Cody, and we all know the type of player that he is. Go back to the Mission game in 2020 when he played for the first time. How'd that go for him? He made a lot of mistakes, but I felt the same way about him in terms of it wasn't too big for him. He handled the situation. Like, he comes back the next day and wants to learn. So Matt's going to be a great player for us. Obviously, Tyler stepped in a little bit there too. Again, another redshirt freshman who steps in. And so those two guys getting in, they made some plays. They made some mistakes. So the communication part of it, has to improve because everyone kind of relies on those guys. Their fits are integral in terms of, the run game. I think that our defensive line, that was a game where I think they could have been more impactful than they were. And so when you get some young cats behind you, you hope those guys can step up a little bit and control the line of scrimmage. And I didn't feel like that happened. And then, we gave up some throws down the middle of the field. One with a fake screen, and the safety kind of gets out of position, and you'd like the Mike to be able to get some depth on it. They hit you on the old pipe route, which is the tailback out of the backfield down the field for us. I mean, we've seen that this is the fourth time we've seen it since I've been here. I think 2018 versus New Mexico State on Thomas Rush. We saw that one last year. We were in post safety defense against Rutgers, and we got a sack. I think Ja got it. And there was another one that Thomas Barber had against Nebraska in 2019 where they took a fullback and sent him vertical. And so that's the fourth time we've seen it, and he saw it a little bit late and was running. And so those big plays put you behind, and then you kind of get on your heels a little bit. And I felt like we played on our heels towards the end of the half. And then we get into the second half, and we get going a little bit and get a little bit off of our heels, but then just weren't able to overcome it enough to get the performance we needed to get the win. And I told him after the game, listen, I thought I was proud of how hard they played, and I was proud of how they kept fighting. Wasn't proud of the result and wasn't proud of the performance in terms of we got to be way better than that. But this group, I'm not going to stop believing in. They're great kids that work really hard. And they're working really hard this week, and we'll be better, and we'll coach better. It's a collective group. It's not one or another. It's everyone in it together doing it for each other. So they were good to be back again around when we got them with Sunday and Tuesday, and today Wednesday they had a good day. So looking forward to another good one tomorrow.
You touched on it a bit, but what are some of the biggest physical and mental challenges linebackers face when they're getting there for the first time in Big Ten games?
Well, there's a saying that we have, which is you don't see one thing, you see everything. That's the life of a linebacker. Like, good linebackers see everything. You can't just see one thing. Like, if I'm looking at you, and that's my quote-unquote key, I got to see that we're writing over here, okay? Because if I'm not, okay, and I'm just seeing you, then I'm missing all the information that I have. If I'm looking in the back, I got to be able to see the front. Okay. Now he's not helping me out in doing anything. He just moved both feet and kicked up on the thing. I got to see that. Okay. And like the good linebackers are able to see not one thing but see everything. And so when you go in there and there's a crowd and there's the band and it's a game and you've got all that going on, you got to be able to slow everything down and be able to see everything. And that would be the biggest thing that I would say. Plus, it's going to happen faster. It's one thing to do it in practice. It's another thing to do it in a scrimmage. But when you go in the game, it's always going to happen a lot faster than what you've been seeing. It's faster than Sunday Night Football. When Matt's out there the weeks before, it's going to happen faster. And even for Tyler, same thing. As a young guy who's played mostly on special teams, so that would probably be the biggest challenge.
When you look at how young and inexperienced you are up the middle, and now you got Ohio State this weekend, is it simplifying, trying to get them to play faster, or how does it kind of continue to click for the middle part of the season?
You have to keep going with what you do. There wholesale changes only make things more challenging for guys that are in the process of still learning. So each week's its own game, each week's its own game plan. What do you need to do for a particular game? What do you need to do for a particular opponent? I think it's just natural. The older and more experienced you are, obviously the more things that you can put on those types of guys' plate. The younger, less experienced, you got to keep it a little bit less for them because you want them to be able to play fast.
You talked about Cody in 2020.
Yeah.
PJ talked about Allen in 2018 in Maryland.
Yeah.
When somebody goes into that situation, their eyes are open wide over what to do. What have you seen in kind of the response in those guys? And is there kind of a benefit to that, even if it's so dire maybe in that moment?
Yeah, I do if they handle it right. Like some guys can get crushed in those moments, and then they never recover. It's like, I don't know, if you say like a major league pitcher goes in and he goes in his first game and gets shelled and just can't get his confidence back. That's obviously a negative, right? But the guys who have mental toughness, grit, perseverance, that's just like their learning experience. That's their ground zero. Howden, for sure. I mean, he goes in and he had a rough one in that game, and now he's playing really well in the NFL. Cody, as we mentioned, Tyler even. Tyler, the Michigan game that he played in 2020 didn't go real well for him. The first couple didn't go real well for him, and now he's one of, if not the best safety in the country. So, to me, it's all a learning experience, and it's all how you handle the experience. So the key to it is the response, and we talk about that all the time. And the response is, hey, what can I learn from this, and what do I need to get better at? And then I need to be motivated to go to work to get better at that stuff. So the good players that I've been around have that trait, and Matt has shown that, and so is Tyler, and so is Darius. And so I think if they can continue with that trait and continue to work, I have no doubt those guys are going to be great players.
What goes into and how do you defend a player like Martin Harrison Jr.?
Well, I don't think you ever just, solely take him away. I mean, he's one of, if not the best receiver in the country for sure, and he's going to be a first-round draft pick and all of those things. And so those types of guys you just don't make disappear. I think what you have to be able to do is keep them from beating you, and that's the challenge. That's the hard part. If that was easy, everyone obviously would do it every week, but it's not. They move him around. They have him play inside, outside. He plays all over the field. They get him the ball in short routes, intermediate routes, deep routes, shot routes. So they're getting him the ball in a variety of ways. He's got size, he's got speed, and he's got strength. So he's like I said, he's one of, if not the best player in the country, and so you just got to make sure you're always aware of where he is. He's going to get his catches, but you want to do everything you can to limit the yards after the catch.
What's the focal point for your strong safeties?
Well, I mean, we got to do our job, and we got to execute, and we got to be able to play routes, and we got to be able to maintain depth, and we got to be able to fit runs, and we got to be able to tackle. So those would be the things that I would say.
When you look at the run game specifically, I think in those 3 games leading up to Purdue, you had allowed like 160 running back yards, and then obviously 3 runs for quite a bit.
Yeah.
Saturday. What were the
Well, first, I'll say this: like, you can never take anything for granted in the game of football, right? As you said, like, there's some games in there where, I don't know, we're under 20 yards rushing. You have a couple under 100, and then you get one like that. So what I would say is some of it was defensive line related in terms of edges being set and disengaging from blocks. Some of it was fits at the second and third level. And then some of it was guys in the open field. If something does get in the open field, like get it on the ground, put it down at 10, line up, play again. There's value in that. And when you are able to do that, you get some more plays to get a stop. You don't get it on the ground and it goes for a significant chunk, then it ends up probably more than likely being a scoring drive, and then now you're behind on the scoreboard. So.
Time for one or two more, Coach.
The versatility of Ohio State's offense stands out on their moving guys all over the place. What type of challenges does that present for defense when so many playmakers?
Yeah, I mean, they have the most or one of the deepest receiver rooms in the country. I mean, there's 3 guys sitting on the bench that you don't know who they are that'll be first rounders in 2 years. Like last time we played, I think Harrison was like the 6th guy. Okay, and so there's that. Their tight ends are very talented. They got size and speed and length, and then I think their running backs are impressive. So they have tremendous skill at all those levels. I mean, they have the challenge of distributing the ball, and getting everyone touches. So the challenge is you can't just say we're just going to take this person away, because you can say that, but then they have 3-4 other guys that can very easily beat you as well. So I think what it comes down to is just being sound in the execution and the fundamentals and the details of your defense. And when you get an opportunity to make a play, whether it be a third down stop or you get your hands on a ball or you get an opportunity for those types of plays, you got to take advantage of them. There's other games maybe where you can overcome not taking advantage of an opportunity to make a play against a really quality opponent. Those opportunities come, you got to make them.
Is there a specific moment in your time as a coach where it was, whether meeting, practice, a game was like, boy, welcome to the college football coaching world?
For me?
Yeah.
It was in 2003, Teal College. We were playing John Carroll at John Carroll, and we got our butt kicked. And, hey, you want to call the defense? Yeah, you got the defense. I'm 24. It's my 3rd year. Okay, so you're going to call the defense, right? No, it's easy. Call the defense, right? And we go in and we get our butt smoked. It was not a fun game. And that was one where it was like, man, like it's not all it's cracked up to be. But then you come back and you respond, right? And I can remember that year we came back and we ended up playing really good defense towards the end of the year. And we had a really good tenure at Teal. You go to Maine, the first year there when I was the DC, I always seem to be the guy at the beginning of these jobs when everyone graduates and then I get the job, right? That happened at Teal, that happened at Maine. So all these guys go on, I take over, and it was a little bit rough. By the end of the year, we were playing well, and over the course of the years I was there overall, we played pretty well. And so you kind of go through these things, these ebbs and flows. There's a sign in the defensive staff room, and this really is like the circle of life and civilization. It says something to the effect that, good times, make soft people, and soft people make hard times, and hard times, bad times make hard people make good times. It's just kind of like the cycle of life. You go through hard times and it hardens people, right? And then those people that get hardened by adversity are the ones that lead you out of adversity, and they're the ones who end up being the leaders and those types of things. And so, that was a hard game. And throughout 24 years of coaching, there's been some hard games, there's been some hard seasons. But the thing I found is, like, when you got the right people, it hardens those people, it unifies those people, and those people end up being the people that lead you when the good times come. So that's just kind of the cycle of life. So there's been a few over the years. Now I'm kind of to the point where, it's to be expected in terms of like there's always going to be hard, there's always going to be good. We've had a couple years of really, really good defense. This year's been inconsistent. We've seen good, we've seen bad. So, and everything in between. It's our job and my job to lead us out of it and get us back to the good times. So, thank you.
Each for you guys of success on the opening drive. What has clicked?
Execution. Bottom line. Execution. Players playing well. Executing the game plan. Pitching and catching. Running the ball effectively. I think the one thing I think I changed the mindset of was establishing a run a little bit. I think that was the big thing that I looked at, because the one thing I keep preaching to them is staying on schedule on early downs. And I think against Iowa and against Michigan State, we came out and I had shots called, and one of them was an incompletion. The second one was an incompletion, but we got pressure, and he had to check it down to the tight end. We dropped the ball, and then we're in 2nd and 10. So it was, let me establish the run game a little bit, get us into 2nd and manageable, potentially get us into third and short, pick up the 1st down, 2nd down, and then I get 8th and into a rhythm, and then let him start playing from there. I think that's been the biggest change, but it's just come down to execution.
What have you learned in the context of third quarter compared to previous second halves in recent weeks?
Again, it's just the opposite of what I just said. The lack of execution. I went back and watched every first 2 drives of every game since the bye week, and it comes down to, number one, it starts with me. I have to continue to put them in positions to succeed. Secondly, I think it comes down to we have to catch the football, we have to throw the ball accurately, and we have to execute up front. I look at every single call that especially I think it was against Michigan State that he's at in particular. Michigan State, I came back out, and the corner sat on a speed out into the boundary. It was PBU. I think the second play of the drive, we had a missed block up front. It was, and then we're in 3rd down. So it's one of those things that goes back to execution. Iowa come out, and first half was the opposite. Now they're a top 5 defense in the country, but we come out in the second half, and we're extremely aggressive in the second half. I think we threw the ball 5 or 6 straight plays to start that second half, and we executed, went down and got, we ended up getting the ball batted in 3rd and 2, and that ended up stalling the drive, but Dragan ended up coming in and kicked the field goal. So I think you look at every single first half and second half, and even early on in the year, it was lack of execution early in the game, early in the year, and it's transitioned to we've been executing better at the beginning of the games, coming out and starting fast. Second half, we have to replicate that. I don't think it has anything to do with lack of adjustment by coaches or players. I think it has everything to do with we continuing to make sure we put our guys in positions to make plays and them going and making plays.
Ohio State's defense was one last year that gave a lot of explosive plays, and this year they're top 5 in the country at not allowing them. What have you seen why have they been so successful at limiting explosives this year?
Secondary's elite. They're young in the secondary, but they have great players. I think that's one of the biggest things that I've noticed watching their tape all week is they can cover. They do a good job. Jim Knowles does a great job of mixing up when he uses certain coverages. They base mostly out of a single high man look, but then they'll run the different coverages out of it, especially on 3rd down. The front two, it's both defenses. I compare 3 defenses that we played: Michigan, Ohio State, and Iowa. Right now, they're the top 3 defenses in the country, and Michigan is a defense that front they'll run through you. They're just different. It's just a different front than we've seen. Iowa, they're extremely physical. They're extremely sound. They stay in their gaps. Ohio State might be the twitchiest, most explosive defensive line that I've seen all year. We played a couple D linemen at North Carolina where they were extremely explosive and twitchy. These guys up front, like that's what their strength is. They do it. They have a very good understanding of what they have to do up front, whether it's pass rush or play their gap in the run game. But man, do they get rid of blocks? Do they rush the passer? Like, it's different than other defenses. And I think that's what I've been most impressed with is just how they get to the quarterback, how they get rid of blocks. That's what makes them really good, because you can't generate explosive plays if the quarterback's getting hit. That's what they've done a very good job of all year. And then when the quarterback isn't getting hit by them, they're able to cover and they're able to play downfield, in an elite fashion.
For those who don't know, what does a typical week look like for you and the staff as you're setting up a game plan?
Well, Sunday typically we usually get a jump start on the previous opponent. I've always been of the mindset of whether we win or lose, I want to flush that game before. I want to watch it. I'm always the guy that watches it right after the game. I don't wait. If it's a home game, I usually go home and see my wife and kids, hang out with them. Once they go to bed, I start to watch it. The next day, or if we're on a away game, I watch it right on the plane on the way home. I do my best to watch it right then because it's fresh in my mind. Sunday we come in and get a jump start. Monday we're usually in about 6:30 a.m., and then we don't leave till probably close to 11 or 12. That's the bulk of the work that goes in, getting ready for first and second down. It's all first and second down. Tuesday, obviously we have practice as today, and then so right now we're watching practice. We had practice this morning, and then we continue to work on third down. On Tuesday, work on third down, and then on Wednesday, which was today, obviously, we end up practicing that third down, and then we start to work on red zone, goal line, short yardage, and generally, like, the week starts to slow down at this point. But then what I've always done, and I learned this from the people that I've been around, is once Wednesday hits, myself, like, I transition from being the quarterback coach on Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday morning, and now I start to transition to becoming the play caller, because now I have to look at the big picture. I don't really start to decide on, like, hey, what do we really like? I might ask Matt, I might ask Callie. That's how we end up looking at it. Thursday, coming in is really a cleanup day, and then Friday, like I said, I think one of the biggest things that in coaching that I learned as I've grown up in it over the last 15 years of when you really make the biggest impact on the game is Wednesday afternoon to Saturday at kickoff. That's when I think you start to find those little hidden gems. You start to find, all right, how are they maybe playing it? Maybe it's a certain strategy that they do, because I think that was one thing that I learned from Kirk. Was Kirk always said, hey, you're the quarterback coach at the beginning of the week and then transition to the play caller at the end of the week. And I thought that's something that's always resonated with me. Whereas I'm not just a quarterback coach all week, and Ethan understands that right now. Ethan starts to go, he's paying attention to certain things situationally, and then as the week goes on, he starts to go back through things, and then he starts to have conversations with me on, why this, why that, why are we doing this? So I think it's pretty cool. But that's kind of how the week goes. Usually the beginning of the week is pretty long hours.
You look at some of these drops you guys have had the last couple of games.
Yep.
In the end zone or on third down. How frustrating is that, knowing that the play is there, but it's just not being used?
Just keep getting better. I think the one thing that I've done, we can't go catch it. We don't take credit when they do catch it. We don't take credit when Ethan makes a great throw. I think I just continue to have a positive outlook on it, and continue to call plays. I want to put the ball in the guys' hands that are going to make the play, and if they don't, I continue to be positive with them. I think Brav's a huge example of that. I think it's well documented how he started the year. I think he's responded well since the bye week, and it's just continuing to work on your craft, continuing to get better, and not letting the circumstances dictate your behavior. If that's what you're gonna allow to happen, I think you're gonna drop balls. We had something today. Coach showed us with a former player in the NFL, and he was talking about drops. And I think the thing that I hope our guys got out of that was when you go through a spell of drops. It might be you've had a few drops in a row, and you start to think, all right, when the ball's in the air, are you going like I don't want to drop this, as opposed to I'm going to catch it. And I think that's what guys have to get over. Every pass catcher's battled through it. I probably go back to 2019 with Tyler and Rashad. They went through it, and they go through those phases. But you have to have that mentality of I'm going to catch it as opposed to I'm going to drop it.
What's the challenge or difference you feel with different running backs and kind of the rotating who's back there? How you handle that?
I think knowing their strengths and weaknesses, knowing what they can and cannot do. It's been a challenge. It's been a challenge just knowing that we haven't had that consistency. But I also think it's a testament to those guys in the room that they're always ready. They're always ready for the challenge ahead. Jordan's played outstanding. He's done a very good job of coming in and handling the workload and handling the responsibility. And Zach has really improved too. I was just telling Zach how good of a practice he had today and how physical he was and how he's battling. And I think that's it's just showing growth in these young guys. Even Sean's at the tail end of his career, and he struggled at times, but you see that resolve, and you see that he's just continuing to bounce back and continuing to work harder and harder every single day. Do you want the same guy in there all the time? Yes, you want consistency. You want consistency at every position. But I think that's the mark of a good coach is when the next guy steps in, like Nick has done all year, there's not a drop-off. And the guys up front, the O-line and the tight ends are blocking for whoever's behind them. And they've done a great job of that all year. So I think that's, again, I've mentioned Nick's name a ton this year of just how good of a job he's done with those guys. And I think that just shows every Saturday with how they play.
Time for one or two more.
Is there a specific moment where you think back to a meeting, a practice, or a game where I was like, oh boy, welcome to college football as a coach?
I don't know if there was a specific moment. I think over the course of time, just different challenges have come up. I remember this year just having the unit meeting after Northwestern. That was probably one of the harder ones that I've had, and then followed by Illinois. And I think those are two moments this year that's kind of made me appreciate our guys, made me appreciate how they work every single day, because there's really never – I can count over the 6 years I've been with Coach Fleck, I can probably count on one hand how many bad practices we've had just from an effort standpoint. And that's a testament to our guys. But I one moment, I don't know, there's so many cool things that have happened over the course of my time with Coach Fleck or just with anybody else of just, having just good experiences, man. Like I like being around the guys. No matter win or loss, I think that, and right now we're going through it. Like we've had a tough 2 weeks, and I think that if you came into our building and you watched our guys walk around the building, you would think we were 10-0. And I think that's the coolest thing that I've seen with our players this year, of just bouncing back every single day and handling the adversity and handling the problems that they've had this year. And Coach always says, I think he said it earlier this week, and Matt said it after the game against Purdue, it's not a bad life, you just had a bad day. And I think that's the thing that our guys have really taken into, and they've come out and played hard. But to answer your question, Ryan, I don't think of one particular moment. I just think of the overall, like, the guys I've coached, Western Michigan, Bag of Chattanooga, Division III, like those guys every single day, like just being around those guys. And that's kind of my every single day is a cool moment because you get to do this. You get to do this it's not a job. It's showing up every single day and being around these guys and making them better and not worrying about every single thing being just positive, like working through the negative things and making them better. So,
how has your experience been with Chris Almondale and Brevin Spenforth over these years at Minnesota and what have they meant to the program?
Well, Chris, I remember walking him around Kalamazoo, Michigan, You know, he was on recruiting trips there. I was a GA, so I remember when he didn't have any facial hair, and now he has dreads and facial hair, and he's old. You know, and he's a great kid. Like I've seen him when he was 17 years old go through the recruiting process, get injured his senior year of high school, and then stay true to Coach Fleck. He's obviously committed to Western Michigan, and then he came here and he's had the career he's had, and he's bounced back. You know, just seeing him go through what he's gone through this year, what he did last year. You know, he was a guy I always followed. And then in 2019, when he was a critical guy to our success on offense. The way he's played and the way he's carried himself is going to be missed. And I'm doing my best to enjoy every single moment I get with him. The next thing with Brev, Brev's my guy, man. You know, next Saturday is going to be rough. You know, just thinking about him and thinking about his final games, because he means a lot to me. Just seeing him go through last year, and how he handled the ups and downs of last year, and then the decision he made to come back. You know, why he made that decision, why he played in the bowl game. You know, he had an opportunity to sit out the bowl game. And when he told me the reason why he wanted to be on the field when Mo broke the career rushing record, like, that just tells you everything you need to know about Brevin Spanford. And he could have went to the NFL, but he came back. He's actually going to be better because of the experiences he's had this year and the things that he's gone through. And, I love him. Period. You know, he knows how much he means to me. The guys know how much he means to me, and I love being around him. But, I can't wait to see him play this weekend against the number 2 team in the country now, and then I can't wait to see him play his final game in Huntington Bank. He's earned everything he's gotten. He came in as a skinny little tight end, tall, and he's now 6'6", 6'7", 265 pounds, and he's an NFL prospect, and it's very cool to see that growth.
Awesome, Coach.
Cool. See you guys.